Layouts, electronics, track testing, and a test run. That's coming up next.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 18 of my series on building a new model railroad. My name is Peter and this is BNSF Chicago sub in N-Scale. So in this episode I'm showing you the progress of my east end of the West Avenue staging yard. So board 1, which is a 6-foot board, is pretty much completed, and I'm going to show you how far I've got with that. So what I'm also going to show you is the board actually up in place on its brackets. So that's on the left hand side of me over here. The board's up and running and trains are actually rolling onto it. So I'll be showing you that later on as well. For those of you interested in the electronics of the board, I'm going to show you the underneath of the board and what the components are underneath of it. And it's a brief introduction of what each one is and what it does. I know some of you are interested in the electronics and what actually happens underneath a board. Most of the time you just see the top of the board with the trains running. I'm going to show you what's actually underneath, what controls everything. So that's coming up right now. So all the wiring is done for the east end of the Western Avenue yard. And this is the board all completed. See, I've added all the wiring, the switch machines, the decoders, everything is all connected and plugged in. So I'm just going to go through with you now what it all looks like underneath. And I'll start on this end. Now all I've got to add is the Loconet cable. I haven't added that yet. I've just got some temporary ones in, but I'm going to make up some shorter cables so it's all neater and all connected properly. So to start off with, on this side, we've got a PSX2, so Tony Strain Exchange PSX2, and that is where the main power comes in from the power bus. It comes into this side and it's split between the yard tracks and the mainline tracks. And this just means that if there's a short on one of them, it doesn't shut down the whole section. It only shuts down the section that's got the short in it. So that's the whole idea of that. This board over here is a CML Electronics, or now Signatrack DAC20, which is the turnout decoder. It's got 8 turnouts on it, and I've got it all set up for slow motion switch control, so for tortoise type machines. So that's all connected in over there. That's got 2 Loconet cables going into it, one from the main bus feed, from the Loconet bus feed, and then this is the one that goes to the other boards on the layout, which I'll show you now. So that is on that section, and then I'm using a tortoise switch machine up here on that side. Then you'll also see, actually let's move this down so you can see it. This connection over here is a ground wire. Zoom in. And that over there is from the booster ground, and that is required for certain boards, like the Tam Valley board and the Digitrax boards require the booster ground, so that's what that's for, and that'll have a connection that goes off to the main bit of the layout as well. So right, let's go to the next section. And here we've got 2 more tortoise machines, and you'll see what I've done. I've just taken the motor leads for the tortoises to a solder tag over here, and then this goes off to the turnout decoder. It just makes it easier to trace all the wiring. And I've done the same thing with the track feeders as well. They also go to solder tags. And then you also see the white wires are for the frogs, and I'll show you what those go to now. So this section here, we've got another tortoise machine. Then over here we've got a Digitrax BDL168 block detector. Now that does 16 blocks. And what I've used here, I've used an Aculights breakout board just to make it a lot easier, because the Digitrax board comes with a solder tag, which makes it so you can solder the wires directly to it, but it's just not that user friendly. It's a big hassle having to solder wires. Whereas this board just plugs into the edge connector of the BDL168, and it's just got screw terminals. It makes it a lot easier to connect everything. So these orange wires are the feeders going through to the detected track, the detected rail on the track, and these wires at the top here are the power for the various detected blocks. So they go to these 4 sections here, And then you've got the ground wire coming in from the booster, and this is the power for the BDL168. And this over here is where it gets plugged in, so that plugs into a wall wart underneath the layout. Then down at the bottom, over here, is a Tam Valley hex frog juicer. So all the frogs are fed into that, and that just auto switches the polarity on the frogs. It's a lot easier to use one of those than having to use the switch points, or the contact points on the turnout motors themselves, and just auto does it, which is great. Okay, so next section. Now over here I've got a DCC Concepts Cobalt switch motor, just purely because the space doesn't allow me to put a tortoise in. Just they're a lot bigger than the Cobalt, so the Cobalt fits nicely in there. And with that I've got a Cobalt, I think it's the ADHP decoder. It's a turnout decoder, it's a single turnout decoder, so that powers that. And the tortoise is powered by the DAC20. So that's what's in that section. And then we go to the last bit. And over here at the other end of the board, we have the track feeders are over here. We have again a Tam Valley booster. It's a 5 amp booster, 12 volt booster. That's also got a ground coming from the common, from the booster common. And then this powers the accessory bus, which is up here, and that's what the accessory decoders are connected to. So if the main bus goes down, if there's a short on the track, it doesn't shut down the turnout, so you can still turn the turnouts. So if you've got a train, you run against the turnout, you can still turn that turnout even if you've still got a short, because you've still got power from the accessory bus. So that's always a good thing to do. Always power the turnout decoders from the accessory bus rather than from the main DCC bus, which is this one here. And you'll see over here the DCC bus goes into this decoder. It's powered separately into the booster. It's powered separately by a wall wart as well, so it's always got power going into it. And then the output goes into the accessory bus over here. And then what I've got over here is the wires going through to the next board. So that's for the accessory bus. That one is for the yard bus. That is for the main track bus, for the main line bus. And this one over here is for the ground. So that's for the common coming from the booster. This over here is spare blocks from the BDL168. So I'm going to use them on the next board. Because I've got 16 blocks, I've only used 13 of them, so I've got three spare over here, so I'm going to put those across the next board. And then it's the same with the turnout decoders as well. I've got 3 spare outputs on the turnout decoder as well, so that's going to go through to the next board as well. So now we're going to check the Metro line. It's this one over here, so that's the inner track on the helix that comes up from the lower staging yard, and that's the outer track over here. So we're going to test the main line, and this goes from 1 track into 2 just around the corner. So here we go. So that works fine across the turnout onto the main 1. So now we're just going to go back and we're going to check main 2. That's the one at the back of the layout. Now to throw the turnouts, it's number 26. Let's check main number 2. I see there's a slight hesitation over there. I'm going to have to look at that and see why it's doing that. This is exactly why you do testing, to make sure that everything is working properly. Let's go back across it again. You see a slight hesitation, but it goes again, so I will see what's going on with that. It might just be the dirty track over there, so I will double check that.
Okay, so that is the Metro main line. And now we go over to the freight main. So now I'm going to check the freight main 1. And this line comes in, this is the outer track of the helix, comes in here. It's a single track and then it goes and becomes a double track. This turnout over here is for the yard lead, so I'll check that just now. But first of all, we'll check the main track. So we're going to go on to main 1. So that's all good. So we'll go back and then we'll check main 2, or freight main 2. I called it main 2, but it's actually, I'm going to be calling the main 1 to 4, well actually be 1 to 3 eventually, but this section has got 4 main tracks. But I'm just calling it freight main 2 because this is only going to be used by the freight traffic for now. So let's go on to main 2. Goes across that turnout nicely. We'll go back again, and now I'm going to check the yard lead, the yard access track from this main 1. Let's turn this back to there again, and then we need to throw 28 and we need to throw 29. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set those two to throw together, so just for now they're just throwing separately. So here we go. Perfect. Let's take it back there again just to check this way. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to take it back. And then I'm going to check the yard lead. So put 29 back to normal. And now we go through, check the yard lead all the way. Okay, that works fine. Okay, so that is it all tested for now. I've still got the, if I just zoom into this section over here, I've still got this track over here. So this is the yard lead that comes in over here. I'll just move that, zoom right in here. Okay, so right, so this is the yard lead that comes in, and this track here goes into the yard, that goes into the main bit of the yard itself. This track over here is for the arrival departure track, that one over there, and this is for the actual yard itself. So that is a track I'm going to put in once I've got this board in place with the rest of the layout. So that all looks good. It looks like the only one I've got to work out and see what's happening is this one on the far side. So turnout 26, which is the Metro main 1, the turnout that leads to Metro main 1, which is this one over here, just to see why there's a slight hesitation on there. Apart from that, really happy with the way it's working. So that's really exciting. It's all up and running now, which is great. So finally I can go from the staging yard at the bottom right up to the first level, and I've got half of the first level of, or the half of the Western Avenue yard completed. Well, track work and electronics anyway. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start on the second board of the Western Avenue yard, so the west end of the yard, get that all working with the track and the tortoise motors and everything in place. Once that's done and I've got the full 12 foot of the yard completed, I'm going to start on the scenery. But anyway, so that's how far I've got at the moment. I'm going to end this video with just a quick little run through of train going from the lower level up to the top level, so through the helix and up to the top level. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking forward to future updates, be sure to click on the subscribe button down below and click on that little bell icon to be notified of the next coming episode. So in the meantime, enjoy the video coming up and see you soon.